Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another live stream with me, Gisela K. This is Grizzly True Crime, and today we're going to have a very special guest joining us. Many of you probably know him. You know the Sarge. His channel is Joseph Jack Alone or Joe Jack Alone. It's linked in the description box. Nightbot is going to be sharing it with you as well. The links to Joe's channel, which you must subscribe to. Go check it out. I'm sure you're going to love it. There's many of us over there. His channel. I'm going to show you his books quickly and just a quick rundown. Then I'm going to bring him right up. So Joe L. Jackalone is a retired NYPD sergeant, supervisor, detective squad, and sorry, it's a little bit small for you. Let me do this. There we go. There we go. Let's zoom in here a little bit. Okay. And he is a retired NYPD Sergeant SDS Supervisor Detective Squad, an internationally recognized expert. You might have seen him on Court TV. You might have heard him quoted on articles and things, especially about the case we're going to discuss today. I'm going to link this, josephjackalone.com. His website's already linked in the description box if you want to check it out. And then you could also grab copies of his books. He's got all these books here. If you go to Amazon and just look for Joseph Jackalone, you'll find him there. And you can pick up some copies of his books there. All right, now let me bring him up. Welcome, Joe.
Hey, thanks, Gisela, for having me.
Yes, it's always such an honor to have you, and I know that you are an expert at this Long Island serial killer case, the Gilgo Beach murders, Rex Heuermann, and you're following it closely. I'm also following it closely. Oh, my word. I hear there's sources that say he could be charged with another murder on Thursday. Have you heard the same thing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the Newsday reported it. There's been rumblings for quite a while now, and it looks like it's finally going to break, so to speak. But, we're going to talk about it, I'm sure, today. But the searches out east and everything else, and then the new search warrant at his home, I think we could all connect the dots way before ahead of time.
It's just a coincidence, right?
Yeah, no such thing. That's my line. There's no such thing as coincidences when you're dealing with these investigations.
Yes, I love to quote your line, especially in times like this where they searched that Manville area, a lot of activity there, and then the next minute they at his house again, which was so strange for a second time. And then after that, it's like, oh, well, here's a new indictment. No case.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to seeing the official, word, of course, right? So when the district attorney comes out and says it, but these are, as you know, this is a done deal already. This has already been done with the grand juries. This is not news per se, so it's not like everybody broke this story, so to speak. It's been done for a while, and they're just getting their ducks in a row, so to speak.
But you definitely call it every time. I was watching one of your recent episodes with Josh Seaman, and you were saying, oh, something's going to break soon. Something's going to happen. And yet here we are, where they're talking about a new indictment for Thursday. So if you guys didn't know, Rex Heuermann was meant to be in court on June 18th, but it's now, now he's going to be in court on Thursday, possibly facing a 5th murder charge. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that charge could be. I just quickly wanted to bring up an article and just read it to you guys quickly. So that we're all on the same page of what is going on here. I will link this so that if you want to watch the video as well, you can. I could see Michael Alcazar is here. We could see Catch LISK is here. They're all here to have a cup of Joe with Joe and I. Thank you so much all for being here. Please like and share so that others can find us as well. And if you haven't yet checked out Joe's channel, go check it out. We love roll call over there, the quizzes and everything. And you've got wonderful guests too. Okay, so Gilgo Beach killings, they say suspected killer Rex Heuermann facing new charge, multiple sources say. And so they say alleged Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Andrew, is expected back in court later this week on a new indictment charging him with an additional murder, multiple sources told Newsday. Heuermann, 60, will appear for arraignment before the state Supreme Court Justice Timothy Mazzei in Riverhead on Thursday, the sources said. A new indictment comes within weeks. I can actually make this full screen, I think. There you go. That's better. The new indictment comes within weeks of a search, which again, no coincidence there, of a search by the Gilgo Beach Task Force investigators in an area of Manville where the partial remains of 2 Gilgo Beach victims, Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack, were found more than 2 decades ago. And days after Gilgo investigators completed a second search of Heuermann's home in Massapequa Park. Sources declined to say what the new charges Heuermann is facing. Suffolk County District Attorney Ray Tierney and Heuermann Defense Attorney Michael J. Brown declined to comment at this point. I saw later they say that, I like that quote there from Tierney. He said, the thing that allows prosecutors to speak is indictments. Well, we're looking forward to hearing him speak. I'm going to link this article for you guys. There's a lot of recap of the case, of course, and so I'd rather discuss a lot of these things with Joe, but basically that's what's happening. They are talking about the possibility, very likely, of at least a 5th murder charge. Do you think it's only going to be, for now, one more? Is that what the sources are saying, or could it be more than one?
Well, I mean, like I said, the Newsday, they threw out they said one additional, and then they threw out the 2 names of the victims that were found in that area. So, we of course we don't know for sure, right? It's just in regards to we're just going along with what we're being told. But I'd like to see them include both of them. I mean, both of them deserve justice. Their families deserve the justice. So I'm hoping that there are 2 additional cases added to this, Valerie Mack and Jessica Taylor, for sure.
Yes, so we're going to look at the map as well so that we can show everyone. I mean, I don't know, Grizzlies, if you feel like me, there's so many victims that could be linked to Rex Heuermann, and I'm sure there's actually so many more, which is very sad. But when if we don't look at the maps and we don't look at the case timelines and things, we might actually feel a little lost. It can get quite overwhelming because like who, what, where, and who was found where and all of that. So we're going to have a look again. Michael Alcazar says, hi, Grizzlies. Hi, Gisela. Hello to you, Michael. Thank you for being here. Madonna says, good collaboration between creators and their followers. Yes. And our communities, we overlap nicely. I think we make a good match. So thank you for being here again. Now let's look at the map quickly here, just to show everyone. I'll make it full screen again so that we could see nicely. Okay, let's see if we could actually put ourselves here. Does it help? No, it helps if they see it. Okay, so I heard that yourself and Josh Seaman. Actually, Josh said it, right? That it's almost like where Peaches was found and Baby Doe, which is the child of Peaches, they're like the bookends of the case. I mean, what? So your reaction to that?
Yeah, Josh brought that up. I had actually never heard that before, but there's some of the people saying that there was other statements about that, and that's all fine and good. But when you take a look at it, Peaches is a case that Josh and I have talked about a number of times. Her remains were found in 1997 in Hempstead Lake State Park, and then in 2011, her rest of the remains were found in Nassau County, Jones Beach area, which is all the way to your left in that regards, right off the Wantaw Parkway. So that
Peaches,
was that's Peaches
there.
in the Hempstead, right? And if you
here,
can look almost straight up, almost straight up is Massapequa, right up there. You can see that. So the issue that comes down to is that her body was found in a container wrapped in a blanket with a pillowcase. And Josh and I have, tossed that case about in regards to maybe there was a chance that DNA was trapped in there. Maybe, with the tape that was used to bind her, that they would be able to maybe find something years later with all the new technology. So we were kind of, hoping to see some movement on that case. And, along comes the other news with Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack, possibly, right? And all the searches out east. I mean, like I say, you start putting these things together, and it's really amazing what they've done in the last less than 2 years, so to speak, about how far this case has moved compared to what the previous 12 years were.
Absolutely. So if anyone's feeling a little lost, don't worry. I've got a playlist in the description box for you. We've done lots of this map time before. I've actually just added these. I see these were not added to my map. So let me tell you why. Okay, so you could catch up there. You could do a deep dive over there. Here, we're really just catching up on what's happening now. Why could there be a 5th murder charge? As I say, there could actually be many more in the future. But basically, recently, investigators were out in this Manville area. And that was pretty interesting because wasn't it true that John Bitroff, the other serial killer, alleged his 2 murders? He's been charged with 2 murders, right? So weren't his victims found in this Manville area?
No, his victims were not found in there. They were found, I believe, further south in, I believe, maybe Copeg area.
Oh, okay.
The issue, I mean, if Raul's in the room, he would be able to tell you exactly where those victims were found.
Yes.
Raul's great. I mean, if people need to follow him too, yes.
Yes, Raul is amazing. I've linked his X account in the description box as well. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, John Bitroff lived over there in Manville, and the police searched basically 3 areas when they went out there. They searched Manville, they searched the Pine Barrens, and a place called North Sea. And North Sea was where the body of Sandra Castillo was found, which you might need to add her onto your map too. She was believed to be a victim of John Bitroff, but they were never able to attach him to that case. So he was convicted of killing 2 women. I believe it was 2017 is when his conviction went through, and that was for Rita Tengredy and Colleen McNamee, and which technically doesn't make him, fall in the definition of a serial killer. But they had, the third one, Sandra Costilla, maybe was a possibility of it, right? But they never were able to attach it. But it was just interesting that because Raul and I and Josh, we talked about this. We had a case when all that first broke. We had a show on that, and we discussed about North Sea with Sandra Costilla. Is like, are they really looking into maybe her case as a possible inclusion in the LISK cases? And of course we hope so too, because she needs to get justice also. So there's so many working parts in regards to this case, but when you've lived this case, right? Because we lived on Long Island, all this stuff was going on, and these areas pretty well, and you start connecting those dots on the map, and you start looking at certain things, and then again, boom, the second search warrant was huge because.
Yes.
For maybe on the audience that might not realize this, I know you guys you're 300,000 strong, so congratulations on that, and you're very educated. But just for those that might not understand the search warrant process, you need to establish probable cause again, which is a very high threshold. So the police went to the judge with some serious evidence to be able to get that search warrant again. So. Because remember, they were there less than 10 months ago. So to get another one, which, by the way, judges aren't really happy when you have to go back a second time. But, going back the second time, it was absolutely huge. And it's a huge undertaking.
I wonder, I mean, we saw them carry out all sorts of things. I know there's a lot of speculation. There was the dog bed and then boxes and backpacks and just every little thing could be analyzed. But it seems like let's just carry the whole house out, and I'm sure they're going to test everything. And imagine if they could connect Rex Heuermann to either Valerie Mack or Jessica Taylor, doesn't that mean that it opens up the potential to then, not automatically, but you know what I mean, more likely to connect him to at least 4 other murders then? Because it's Valerie Mack and Jessica Taylor and Baby Doe and Peaches, right?
Right. Well, here's the thing. I have, including many others, we've been on the side of one serial killer all along, which I've gotten a lot of grief over the years. But listen, I'm an old enough guy with a turtleback, from policing for over 20 years in New York City in the 1990s. Will do that to you. But the issue that comes down to, I was a one theory person from the beginning, and I haven't wavered from that. And this would absolutely blow that theory wide open in regards to looking at him for just about all the others. My only concern, Gisela, on that aspect of it is that there was way back when Thomas Spoda, who was the district attorney at the time, had a public fight with then police commissioner Richard Dormer about how many killers there were, and believe it or not, Spoda said there could be as many as 4 killers. So don't think that the attorney Michael Brown isn't going to be picking up that, and you're going to hear about that going forward if there are other cases that are added to this, because he's just going to claim that the police are just piling on the ball carrier, so to speak. You got a guy, and now you're trying to tie him to everything else. And meanwhile, the head law enforcement agent at the time said there were 4 killers, and you heard it here first, Gisela.
Yeah, we've got the heads up, guys. We do expect that. He already did say that in the last, recently. Yeah. He said, oh no, there's probably other suspects, and he was looking at that former police officer, retired police officer that was living in the area.
Yeah, that's a whole other issue. Yeah,
that's I know. I mean, Burke he's an interesting one, but was he also living in Massapequa?
No, Burke was a Smithtown guy.
Okay, so I'm just checking because
he's up on the top there. Yeah, he originally came from the city. He lived in Queens, and then there was some family issues or whatever. And then the family moved all the way out to Smithtown when he was a young teenager, and then he spent his time and grew up over there.
Okay. I just know they said, I think it was on the probable cause affidavit, that they were so busy looking at another cop, which could be Burke, but it sounded like in the area, like a couple of houses down, that they missed Rex entirely. I don't know about that. People hate it when I call him Rex, but it's
that was under name. That was under Tim Sini, right? They were looking at maybe moving on somebody, and I actually look at that as it was a good thing that they had another suspect. I know some people say, "What, Joe? Are you crazy?" No, you got to remember, I used to do this for a living, and the object of or the objective of an investigation, especially when you're dealing with murder, is to exclude all others. So it's good to have other suspects in a case and then be able to discount them based on the evidence that you find, right? So let the evidence dictate your theory, and then go by that. And you change your theory. You don't change the evidence and pick and choose which one you think is going to help your theory out.
Exactly. So let me show them why this gets interesting as well, is because as we know, the Gilgo Four, as the victims are known, were found very close together, and Rex Heuermann has been charged with their murders. Amber Costello and Melissa Barthélemy, Megan Waterman, and Maureen Brainard Barnes. And they were wrapped in burlap. And so there's a similarity there. And then there were all the other bodies that they found as well. But now the thing is, with Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack, if Rex Heuermann is connected to them, that would make him a dismemberer, which, again, that's why you say it blows the whole case wide open, because it's not then the MO that maybe one would see with the Gilgo Four. Then it would mean he changed his MO along the way, especially if he then scattered remains in different places. Oh my goodness, this could become so huge. And of course, I think it could be statewide, nationwide.
Right. Well, and I had my theory on to answer that question. When people challenged me on the single killer, they'd say the MOs are entirely different and serial killers don't change their MOs. I still can't understand why people think that serial killers don't change their MOs. Some serial killers, some serial killers have no MOs. I mean, if you look at a guy like Richard Ramirez or Richard Cottingham, who we're going to talk about on this Tuesday night, these guys didn't have any type of MO. They just found victims of opportunity. So to think that people don't change, I think is not a good path to go down. And the reason why I said it was one single killer and then backed it up with the theory, and you maybe have heard me say this before, but I think it's worth repeating. This wasn't an MO change specifically on what he believed, so to speak, like his own inner workings in his own head. This was a technology change. This was a change that caused him to go from dismembering somebody that he picked up along the way, doing whatever he was doing, and he feared that someone might have seen him get into his vehicle, and then that's the reason why he had to dispose of the bodies the way he did, right? So to try to get people not to be able to identify him and say, "Hey, I saw her get into this car or truck or what have you." And then all of a sudden comes the internet and the idea of burner phones and everything else, where he thinks he can be anonymous, and he has no longer the need to be able to have to dispose of the body in such a way that would make it difficult for law enforcement to identify them, because he thought he was going to do this totally anonymously. He thought he kind of, found a new way of doing things. And I think a lot of people found out the hard way through this case that burner phones or not, they're still able to track you down and to try to find out who you are. And as the technology changes, this is getting more and more exciting in regards to following these cases, because not only is it cell phone records, internet records, and video surveillance, but we're seeing those become exponential even.
Absolutely. MB Inc. Hello. He says, "Hi, Gisela, Joe, and Grizzlies. Hello to everyone joining now. We are discussing the updates in the Long Island serial killer case, and it could mean that Rex Heuermann will face a 5th murder charge on Thursday, and then from there it could escalate quite quickly." So I want to quickly show them this so that everybody's following along. Joe, they were asking you a question now. I think it was Debs in Space. So who are the potential victims that could be connected to Rex Heuermann on Thursday, in your opinion?
I think number one is Jessica Taylor. Number two could also be Valerie Mack, right? Because those two young women were found in Manville many years ago. I think Valerie Mack was found in 2000, and Jessica Taylor was found in 2003. And the rest of their remains, unfortunately, were found in Gilgo in 2010. So this is that connection right there between Manville and Gilgo.
Yes.
So, that kind of ties them to that. And I think they start with those, which is really amazing, because I kind of gotten the impression that when they had, during one of the pressers, they had asked the district attorney, who's been awesome, Ray Tierney's been awesome doing this. And he was kind of like, I thought he was going to say, well, you know what, we're kind of going to focus in on the Gilgo Four and we'll see what goes on. And then all of a sudden, this case just grew a second set of legs, so to speak, when they hit those search warrants, not the search warrants, excuse me, the searches out east, and then the search warrant. I mean, this thing took another step up on the rung. So I'm happy to see it because all these victims deserve the attention that they should have gotten 20 years ago.
Absolutely. So in case anyone is wondering now, how does this all tie together? That's the discussion, because look how close as well Valerie Mack's partial remains and baby Doe was found, and baby Doe is the baby of Peaches, unidentified. I hope they can identify her soon as well. You know, there was talk of they may be talking to some of her family or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've been on top of that too. You know, me, Josh, and Raul have bandied about
Yes.
and talked about that case in regards to it kind of, fell on deaf ears, so to speak, in October of 2022, I believe, with the last lead of Mobile, Alabama. And then it kind of like fell off the face of the earth there. And the FBI had reached out to the Mobile Police Department to try to help identify relatives of Peaches, and I think they I think the FBI got a little surprised when when the Mobile Police Department is saying that, you know, by the way, the FBI is looking for Peaches, and they put the tattoo on a Facebook page. So,
Yes.
yeah, I don't think that was planned to go that way. In regards to this.
Yes, true. I'm going to leave this question. I want to star this for later. Okay, Jesse Jean, we'll get to your question later. I just really want to show everyone. So remember, there was a search recently, as in the police went recently to this Manville area, which is interesting because the partial remains of Valerie Mack, they say skull, hands, and right foot, were found in Manville, as well as Jessica Taylor's partial torso.
Right,
And the rest
that's
of
about a half a
pieces.
mile apart too. They were pretty close.
Yes.
They were less than a half a mile apart.
Yes. So that there was a search in Manville recently, and then that seemed to be like, no, it's nothing really. It could be Bitroff, whatever. Next minute, they had Rex Heuermann's house, which is,
Yep.
Let's try to travel there. Here is Rex Heuermann's house in Massapequa. I wonder if they're going to search this area that you were recommending they search, Joe. This foresty
I would hope
area.
they did. Yeah, that would to me was the low hanging fruit. And just a quick story on that one. I had just put it on a Twitter. I just said, I hope that they're searching like right around this corner because they have that whole thing right up the Bethpage State Park. It's something like 1,200 acres. I mean, it's really beautiful. You could take your bike. As a kid, we used to ride our bikes and stuff on there. And next thing you know, the news picked up on it. And next thing you know, I did the interview. And next thing you know, I'm getting bombarded with different things. And I probably the police department was not very happy with me. I try not to create more work for people and do things, and you try not to get too involved. But unfortunately, sometimes you just do. I guess myself, and I'll only talk about myself. Sometimes my big mouth can get me in trouble too. But it's not to do anything other than highlight a specific thing that needs to be done because you want to make sure that you have found all potential victims of this person. You have somebody in custody now. Let's run with this, right? I mean, that's kind of policing 101. You tie people to who you already have, and then you search for more who might have had contact. Remember, Gisela, what they found an additional 422 electronic devices. We don't even know if those devices are his, right? Because we knew that he was making phone calls. He had at least taken 2 of the victims' cell phones. So, I mean, God knows what else he might have had in those 422. And I'm really interested in that also.
Yes, definitely. That time when you mentioned it as well, you made me fly it. I was like, ooh, let's fire up that flight sim and fly all around here and look at it.
Yeah, take a look at it. It's a beautiful area, but it is ripe with hiding spots. It's and actually in the south part of there, that you see that large road that you have right in between there. That's Sunrise Highway, and that's where some of the MS-13 victims were found. So that's something to think about. It's been used before. But you got the Massapequa Preserve. You got a number of different things here, and it leads to the water. Of course, you can access. I know there have been theories that Rex used a boat to dispose of the bodies. I am nowhere near on board with any of that stuff, for lack of a better
Me
pun.
neither. I think he's too lazy. In that
Well,
way.
it's very dangerous. I mean, I grew up on the water. I had my own boat too when I got older, of course, but I've been on the water for years on Long Island. It is a very dangerous place to go. If you really don't know what you're doing, let me tell you something. You can get yourself hung up pretty easy. And if you're carrying bodies in your boat, that's probably not a good idea if you're going to get a chance of getting stuck somewhere. So
Imagine. Yes,
it's
Ocean Parkway was perfect. Dark, not well lit at the time. I think there's more lights now, right?
yeah. And if you look at how if you could throw up that map again,
Yes.
you can, every victim of, let's just call them all LISK, right? Because we don't know if LISK is just Rex or whatever, right? Because we're just doing it.
Yes.
But every victim was found on the north side of Ocean Parkway. The only person that's found south of Ocean Parkway is Shannan Gilbert. Everybody else is found north, which means to me that the suspect went, if Rex is the guy, all he does is go on Sunrise Highway. He takes it to a place called Robert Moses Parkway, and he comes down right there. That's the Robert Moses Causeway. And you come off, and if you notice, he just starts dumping bodies. And if you go all the way to where the Peaches victim is found, the remains, if you keep on going, right?
All the way to Peaches. Okay, right.
He's going all the way to Peaches. That highway right there is the Wantor State Parkway, and he just goes straight up there, and he's right back in Massapequa.
Yep. I mean, it makes sense map-wise, at least.
Yes.
But wow, they've got their work cut out for them.
Yeah, and Manorville's almost a straight run too, from Manorville down into the Sunken Meadow to the Sunken Meadow, take it right into Robert Moses Causeway, right to Gilgo Beach. I mean, it's some of the most scenic routes too that you could ever take on Long Island. The double bridges on the Robert Moses Causeway, it's absolutely beautiful.
Wow, this is quite something to especially see it like this. If you guys have never seen, here's Catch LISK. So if you haven't followed Catch LISK, go check out, especially on X, and he's got his map linked there. Wow, that map is my map is a baby map compared to that one. You should go check it out. We do love map time. That one's got all the pins, everything we could ever possibly look at. So thank you, Raul, for all that hard work on that map time. So sure. I mean, so if people are still confused, they looked at Manville, right? Then they searched his house, and now he might be indicted on a 5th murder charge. So speculatively, it could be Valerie Mack, Jessica Taylor, especially because they were linked to Manville, and some of the remains were found also along this Gilgo Beach area. The timing of everything's very interesting.
And Raul just sent me a text. He says that the New York Post is reporting, that Sandra Castillo is going to be added too, and that's the victim that was found in North Sea, which was the 3rd place they searched a couple of weeks ago. So this could be an absolute blockbuster on whatever day they decide. I know they said Thursday. That's what, June 6th.
Yes.
So I mean, this thing could turn into an absolute blockbuster. I'm waiting to see the press release information from the DA's office. Once I see that, then we know game is on, so to speak.
Yes, let's hope he does I hope that the DA does like a Facebook press conference. He did an Instagram one last time.
Yeah, apparently he likes the Instagram bit, but
it's not great. Not great for those. Go to Facebook.
At least you know what though, he's willing to talk about certain things that you don't normally hear DAs talk about though too. So I'm gonna give him credit on that too.
True. We'll try to hunt down the press conference link there. It's always like where we're going to find him, and it's also he's always early, and it's not really planned. So you got to really like be on high alert when Rex Heuermann's in court. We know he might say something afterwards.
News 12 Long Island is probably a good place to start.
Yes, definitely. Jesse Jean asked earlier, any word from John Ray?
Well, it's funny you brought that up. I actually reached out to John a couple of days ago, see if he willing to come back on the show. I haven't really heard anything. I haven't seen him lately on any TV shows or any podcasts or anything. And it could be that he's just busy doing his normal lawyering work, right? Because he does have a private practice. That could be part of it. I really don't know until I speak to him. But, people can say what they want about John Ray, but he kept this case out in the front with Shannan Gilbert. He deserves a lot of credit, and I've said that numerous times. And a lot of people don't like him, whatever this. But hey, you got to give credit where credit's due too. Yes.
So Carla Lily says, "Who is John Ray?" Maybe you can explain it better than me.
John Ray. When the Shannan Gilbert case first came about, and before all this other craziness had started, he was the Gilbert family attorney with Shannan's mom, Mary Gilbert. And he was the one that was out there doing the pressers himself and putting things out there and trying to get the police to search for Shannan. I mean, that's basically what happened. And then the pressure that he put on finally led to the search where then they uncovered, all of these other remains. So, for those that don't know, he played an integral part in breaking this case wide open.
That must have, to live there in the area and just know that they're looking for one missing person and they just stumble on 10 other bodies. That is so shocking.
Well,
and that
yeah,
took so long. Yeah.
It took so long, and you could also then, kind of pick apart the search too about when they started and when they stopped. They seem to start in April when all the brush is starting to grow back in, right? Don't want to go out there in the wintertime when the brush is, dead and easy to search. I mean, you can Monday morning quarterback this thing to death. But listen, it's sometimes you're better off being lucky than good, and I think they got lucky with the first hit with the cadaver dog.
Yes. And I think they initially thought it was Shannan Gilbert, right? Because they had a press conference and they were like, okay, we think we found, and then like, oh dear. Actually, no, it wasn't Shannan,
Yeah.
it was men. And then they found all the others. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and that's where the famous Richard Dormer quote of saying, we might have a serial killer on our hands, which is when I was watching the news, I almost fell off my chair because to hear a police commissioner use the term serial killer, that we have one, was really like a mind-boggling, so to speak, because the media pressure that was put on the Suffolk County Police Department in the spotlight was intense. That's why you never hear police departments say it. They usually use the term patterns or something like that, that kind of a little less of a blow. But as soon as you say the word serial, I mean, everybody's ears, go bing. And
yes.
yeah, especially now in the true crime world, and how it's kind of taken over a lot of the mainstream media. It's there's certain buzzwords that you just don't say, and to me that's one of them.
Yeah, that's one of them. Might have a serial killer. Everyone panic! Don't panic! Don't panic. Syniad Cleary Linehan, did I say that right? Said, question, Josh spoke. So Josh is the seaman who was on your show recently. If you guys haven't checked it out, go to Joe's channel, subscribe over there, and check out the latest live stream. And you've got many guests coming up as well. You said Josh, well, the question is, Josh spoke about bookends for the victims, which would be Peaches and Baby Doe. Does that mean he has another site with more victims, in your opinion?
Yeah, Sinead, this is a great question. And I am from the camp where for 10 years, when this story first broke, to think that whoever was responsible would have just stopped for that long of a period, I think we are, kind of kidding ourselves, so to speak. I think, and that's the reason why I had brought up the Massapequa Preserve and the Bethpage State Park areas as something close to it. We've done through the research and the studies about serial killers that yes, there is cool off periods, and there are times when they stop for a little while, but to me, in my opinion, 10 years plus is just a real long time to not be doing this, considering if you look at the dates when the Gilgo Four just went missing, right? They were kind of, closer together, of course, in the years. And it seems to be something that, he might have been even speeding up a bit in regards to when the victims were disappeared and then when they were found. Yes.
What's interesting as well is, I know I said this last time you were on my show as well. What happened between 2010 and 2023? Like, what was his MO in that time? Because apparently the police, maybe clamped down on the whole Craigslist, sex workers advertising on there, that whole genre that had grown so much on Craigslist. They kind of shut that down. So what did he do then from there?
Well, yeah, unfortunately, though, there's still other sites that he could use, right? So
yeah.
I guess I'll bring myself this grief again. When they shut down Backpage, that was one of the big sites that he was using.
Yes.
I did an interview. I think it might have been with Newsday or another. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I said I think that was a bad mistake that they did so. And people went absolutely nuts and said, "Why would you want it?" Because it was a, lack of a better adjective, a fishing hole for your suspect. You knew that your guy was using this. Right. So you had the opportunity then to maybe set him or her up or whomever or them up and try to capture him that way based on the MO, based on the the history of what you already knew about, convincing some of the girls to leave their phones at home, big cash money deals, right? I mean, he was offering $1,000 or $1,500, which is in some of these terms is off the charts, right? In regards to how much money, huge red flag. And that's something where maybe they could have used that. So when I said that, whatever, I got all kinds of hate email, of course. Like, how could you be so, be so cruel about leaving this out there for the women? And I'm like, you don't understand. When people come to hear me talk or do something on YouTube, they're not really looking for certain things other than maybe the insight analysis of maybe the from the detective squad supervisor stuff that I was doing and the investigative stuff. So you as an investigator have to detach yourself sometimes to that human element in order to catch a monster like this. So it's unfortunate that you can't really explain yourself that when they're looking for a quick soundbite, but that's basically what you're doing in regards to this, and you have to detach yourself from that human element, and that's why sometimes cops get that bad rap of that they're cold and heartless and this and that. It's also a defense mechanism.
Yes, definitely. No, and it's great. I mean, all the things you speak up about, we love it, of course, and it helps us think outside the box, but also not speculate too far and wide or go crazy with it. So,
Yeah,
but
you
also,
try not to, right? But sometimes a case like this, sometimes
yeah,
it just leads you to that, and it angers some people, whatever. But I'm not doing it to, to get people angry per se, and I'm not doing
yeah,
it, But it happens, and it's just that's just my human nature. Is because of what I used to do.
yeah, and especially for the victim's sake. I mean, there's so many cold cases, so many unsolved that could
Oh
be
my God.
linked. As you say, now they've got his DNA, ate that pizza, left the crust, got his
Yeah.
DNA now. They did the buckle swab. So, I mean, now they could really, as you say, run with it and hopefully solve many cases.
Right, and we found out months later about when they arrested him on July 13th of last year that night they took a consent DNA sample from his wife, right? So I mean, we found that out months later. We didn't even know about that. So then of course that tied into the hair follicles that they found belonged to his wife, and then the hair follicles found to the daughter. Remember the Long Island Railroad garbage bin, right? So this two garbage bins played a big role in this case, and for those that are watching, if you're interested in about what allows the police to do that, the case is California versus Greenwood. And that was basically your abandonment. When you throw away your garbage, it's there for anybody to take. Now, certain states like New Jersey still require a search warrant to what do you call it? But most places don't. You just pick it up and it's considered abandoned.
My goodness. Okay, so sorry, I'm just trying to. I know you also, when you live, you're also looking to make sure you don't miss all these questions. There's good questions coming in. One says, do you think the jewelry on Peaches and Baby Doe were gifts from Rex? Did he steal jewelry, already stole food from the grocery store, and committed fraud through traffic or accident insurance claims? So I haven't heard all those rumors, but what are your thoughts on that? Oh, I must not
Well,
remember. I'm writing something down that I want to ask you. Okay, yes?
sure. We have no information that would lead to any relationship between the current suspect Rex and Baby Doe. I know that's been talked about at length on certain areas on the internet, but we don't know for sure, and that right now is a huge speculation. There's only one group of people that know in the police, and they've kept that pretty quiet. If that's the case, it would be really interesting. But the thing that not both, but me, Josh, and Raul have spoken about is why leave the jewelry behind? That was that could have been a potential identifying, items left on the child that somebody would be able to recognize. And if you notice, the police do these requests from information posters, right? And that's the first thing they put out there was the jewelry. So to us, that was always a strange move. And whomever was responsible for, let's say, Peaches or Valerie Mack or Jessica Taylor, I mean, he did all this dismemberment, but then left remains out in nearly the public area for people to find, right? I mean, dog walkers found, victims and people, I think, riding on the bicycle found Peaches and those kind of things. So, you go through this effort to do this and then you kind of leave them out, I think tells us a lot about the person that you're dealing with.
Definitely a little bit of a show off in his own career, right? Who Killed Beth Ellen? Thank you so much for the Who Killed Beth Ellen Vincent. Thank you for the sticker. You said very interested in Rex's possible travels to South and North Carolina in the early to mid 90s, which his brother's also got a property there, and his wife has just been there now. That's when they swarmed the property, right?
Yeah, they haven't executed any search warrants down there either, though, which was kind of interesting. But not to dodge that question, I think Las Vegas to me holds even more of a clue because Las Vegas fought to get his DNA to test it, and this was about 6 or 7 months ago, and then we heard nothing. And I've told many of the people that I know in the reporting world and the journalists, whatever. I know sometimes I get included in that whole media, people kind of thing, but where's the follow-up, right? What are we getting out of that? Did they got the DNA? Did it come back to any of the victims? Right? I mean, that to me, it's something really important to see, and it could establish that federal nexus too. So, yes, South Carolina plays a big role in this. Maybe North Carolina. He's got a lot of different places that this guy's been to, and I'm sure that this task force is traveling about the country, going to these different places, and I'm sure they're not leaving any stone unturned right now. When you're looking at how meticulous this investigation has been now, I think that a lot of these questions we don't have to deal with. Well, I hope they did this and I hope they did that.
Yes, yes, and normally we know when they go quiet like that, oh, they're getting all those ducks in a row, and the next minute we'll hear about possibly many, let's say, maybe he's connected to many victims in Vegas. I mean, I wonder if they're also searching Alaska because he said he went bear hunting there. Sis.
Alaska's a whole other animal up there. Yeah, there's some weird stuff that goes on in Alaska with some of these cases too. There's lots of cases up there in Alaska because it's just frozen tundra mostly. But listen, everywhere this guy has ever laid his head becomes a potential place to be looking into, of course. And unfortunately, you're dealing with maybe some much smaller departments in certain aspects that don't have the resources to be able to do this, and this is where we see the feds stepping in and helping them out.
Yes, definitely. So now there's 2,600 people here. Thank you all for being here. Please check out Joe Jackalone's channel, okay? You'll see me there in chat as often as I can be. If I'm not actually in chat, I'm probably there though, lurking while I'm working. Always like watching the show or catching the replay, so go and check that out. There's also quizzes over there, which we like on the community tab. Lots of great guests, so go check that one out. I wanted to ask you before I forget, which I scribbled down here in my little chicken scratch. When they were searching the Manville area, there was a source or two that told you that they may have found some sort of a lockbox. I later heard about maybe a safe that they loaded onto, like, I don't know, the back of what I would call in South Africa a bucky, which means like, I don't know, a pickup truck. What do you think? What was it, a lockbox? Do you think that there were trinkets found in a trophy, something that was buried out there? What do you think it was?
Yeah, no, this was it was interesting. It actually was reported on Newsday too, so it's not much. Once it makes the mainstream media, I really don't refer to it as a rumor anymore. And yeah, they defined it as some sort of lockbox type of thing. But the irony of that is they searched these areas with cadaver dogs from Nassau County, Suffolk County, NYPD. They brought in cadaver dogs looking for human remains. Now, did the dogs hit on this container and that's why they pulled it out, or did they just stumble upon this thing and say, hey, let's just take it and see what it's all about? Right. So we don't know if this is something that the dogs hit on or this was just a red herring that they discovered during their searches. Because, of course, I wasn't present and I don't know, but I didn't see any equipment like metal detectors being used or anything like that in the videos that we did see from the news. So I just think that's an interesting little tidbit also. One thing that we do know about Suffolk County is that they are very quiet. They play things close to the vest, and then and then all of a sudden they just go surprise,
Yes.
And here it is. And this is a different situation right now because it's being run right out of the district attorney's office with the secret grand jury. So it's just the police are doing what they're doing, collecting evidence, and the district attorney is running the show.
Yes, and for anyone who missed your show, I was watching it at the time when they were searching Rex Heuermann's house for the second time, which was like 10 months later. And wow, I mean, they had all their tents up and vehicles in, blocking the area and carrying out everything. And then the medical examiner arrived. So from your experience, what does that mean?
Yeah, there's only one reason that you bring the medical examiner, and that's because you find something that could be, human remains. I was if you remember, I always said if the anthropologist shows up, boy, then really game on, right? The anthropologist is the one who studies bones. But and I might have said this on the first time I was on your show, Gisela. You know, in New York City, when we did these digs, or when we did these searches like this, we had those team members already in place because we know as soon as it hits the news that there's going to be a cold case dig somewhere, the entire media descends upon it because these are the stories that really that people get interested in. And we didn't want to give them the illusion that, oh my God, the ME showed it. The same reason why we're talking about it now, right? So if the ME was there from the start, or the anthropologist was there from the start, nobody would even be talking about it because they were there from the beginning. They didn't even start yet, that kind of thing. So when you don't have them there and they show up, boy, oh boy, does that lead to all kinds of fireworks. And, and here we are still talking about that.
Oh dear. So in you would recommend that if they did something like that again, rather just bring him on from day one, arrive with the ME.
After the first time around, when they had the ME come to the storage facility way back in July, I said it on I think it might have been Fox News when we talked about this stuff. I said, bring the whole team with you because this way you don't lead to any questions after the fact. And here we are again, 10 months later, still doing the same thing. But I understand maybe it's a personnel issue and this and that, but they, I think they have about 20 or so medical legal investigators in the Suffolk County ME's office. And the medical legal investigator, for those that don't know, it basically does the same job as the medical examiner or the assistant medical examiner does. They go to the scene, they identify, the human remains, and they determine if it's suspicious or not, and if it should be brought in for an autopsy. So they are highly trained. They are certified, and having one there with the ME medical examiner jacket on, I think kind of puts all those questions to bed.
Yes, that was definitely big news when we saw that. I mean, at first, okay, they're carrying out a box or two. Okay, more boxes. Whoa, medical examiner. That was big news. So let's see what happens on Thursday. And then, of course, from there as well. Sleuths investigates. Thanks for being here. You say question. People ask why his DNA hasn't matched to other cases outside of New York. Isn't there a law about him having to be convicted in order for his DNA to be put in CODIS?
Okay. This is a great question. New York is very liberal when it comes to what they do for the DNA. So a couple of years ago, I think it was 2013, you had the Supreme Court decision in Maryland versus King. I know I sound like a professor, but this is what I do now. But Maryland versus King was a U.S. Supreme Court decision, and that said that the police can actually take DNA upon arrest, that they didn't have to wait for a conviction. And many jurisdictions did just that. And the DNA databases, grew dramatically. But New York went, no. We're still going to stick with the old standard. We're going to wait for conviction. And that's why Las Vegas had to fight so hard, because they wouldn't give up the DNA because they didn't take it, or they wouldn't allow it outside or get into the national database, right? So every state has a state database. New York City has its own local database. So they're New York State is very guarded with this stuff, and I understand that there's certain things that you want to make sure that things get done right. But when you have somebody like this who is responsible, not one, not two, not three, but now 4 people, I think that common sense needs to take over, even in the most let's say justice-oriented minds. That you have to just say, okay. There's a reason that we put this now into CODIS. So do I know if it's in his DNA sample is in CODIS? I don't know. I can't tell you that. So it might not be in the national database. And quite frankly, I'm going to say no, because Las Vegas had a fight for it. So that meant to me that it wasn't available searching in the combined DNA index system, right? Because there's 2 main databases in there that they need to search, right? The offender and the unknown, the crime scene one.
Yes. So, well, I hope they get there eventually if it's not in there yet.
Well, think about it. Think about the time lost if they refuse to do so.
Yes, exactly. Oh, dear. Horrible, but part of the law, I suppose. And how things work. Sometimes those wheels of justice turn very slowly. I hope that they will be able to solve so many cases, because I'm sure they could be. Many. Lottie said when they took Backpage down, it increased the danger. It left workers without the tools they used to stay safe. Now it's impossible to find the smaller forum this guy would have used after it shut down. Any thoughts?
Yeah, that's pretty much basically what I got chastised about saying years ago. And, listen, we know that sex work is not safe no matter what you do. So it is safer to do things online in regards to, you kind of have a little bit of control over it. But a lot of the sex workers will tell you that it's not really done for that. It's done for the fact that they can make more money because they can cut out the middleman doing this stuff. So, safety be damned, so to speak, in regards to certain things. The idea behind it for me was just like I think was Lottie had said, it's a fishing expedition at that point, and you can use it for that. But remember, Shannan Gilbert was the only one that showed up there with she had her driver and then the cell phone with her and everything else. So just because you have all those things with you, that doesn't mean that you still can't have something terrible happen to you.
Absolutely. Didi Reynolds said, is it plausible that Baby Doe and Rex Heuermann are related? It's just so weird that a baby was included in his plans. Well, we don't know that he was included yet, if he's linked to them. But he said, why did Peaches bring the baby with her?
Okay, so the first question, I don't have an answer for it. I don't know if they're related or not. That's been rumored for years, and I'm not going to even weigh in on that one. The issue that comes down to is, yes, Mike, put Rex DNA in the yes. Yeah, absolutely. The second question was, is Mike again next to me? Oh, there you go. Thank you. Why did Mike is screwing me up again? He's always doing it. So why did Preachers Bing? Unfortunately, I've actually witnessed this when you have a sex worker who can't have a babysitter or somebody to leave the baby, they will bring their child with them to wherever they're supposed to meet this person. And it's just, unfortunately, that's what happened. I mean, we've seen Johns show up, picking up prostitutes with their kids strapped in baby seats in the back seat of the car. So I've seen this behavior. I've witnessed this behavior. So it's not too unusual. I know some people would say, who would do that? Desperate times, makes for desperate measures.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, the Baby Doe could have just been left and exposed to the elements, not necessarily murdered, right?
Correct. Right. And they have never said what the cause or manner of death were, and it might never be possible, when you have a skeletal remains. But it just seems unusual that, right? I mean, if the killer took the route that I'm alleging, right, coming down the Robert Moses Causeway and had both victims with him, right, that means he would have left the baby first and then drove all the way down right before he gets to the Wanto Parkway and leaving, the rest of Peaches there, right? So
Yes.
it's a pretty far stretch in regards to that. I would probably say, a couple of miles in between. Why not put them both together at the same spot, right? Why take the chance of being caught by stopping twice? To me, that leads to another big question here, right? I mean, you would think that if you're the person, you'd want to get rid of the evidence as fast as you could, and if you make a stop on the side of the road, you never know who or what's going to show up. So if you're going to stop and dispose of a body, why not dispose of both of them at the same location and just get in your truck and go home?
Well, if it is all Rex Heuermann, I mean, he seems like quite a show-off. If it is, maybe it's more than one. Maybe it's four. As you said earlier.
Well, you know what? We don't know for sure, but like I said, as of right now, if you ask me, said Joe, what do you think the police think? I think the police think all roads lead to Rex.
Yeah, that is so scary. Right? Yeah, all roads lead to Rex. Gritty Gret said, I continue to wonder or worry, was Bitroff wrongly convicted? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we did see Bitroff's attorneys file what's called a 440 motion in New York State. The 440 motion is to vacate a previous conviction. And then, Raul and I were watching this very closely, and then all of a sudden, we both were vexed at the fact that all of these things just disappeared off the docket, which then leads to more questions, right? So things were going hot and heavy, and then all of a sudden, there's going to be appearances, and then all of a sudden, you can't even find it. Now, did they hide the the information on the e-crims? Quite possibly. I mean, I'm sure they have the way of doing that, but it just seemed to me like, why put it out there publicly and then all of a sudden have to pull it back? And the web crims is a good place to be looking to see if Rex is showing up this Thursday too. That's where I'd be headed next after this show.
Exactly. I know at that time, Bitrolf and Rex Heuermann were going to be in court around a very similar time. And I've also tried to look up, I keep on looking up where's the Bitrolf records, what's happening. Yeah, gone. Can't find anything.
Yeah, it just disappeared, and which then leads to additional questions. But getting back to the question quickly, if I remember correctly, there were DNA mixtures
Yes.
recovered in Bitroff, and I think the defense's attorney is saying that we don't know when and who made those deposits at specific times, right? I know it sounds
Yes.
cruel, but I'm trying to make it as clean as possible. So who left their DNA behind? We don't know based on the time frame. And the question comes down to is if there were mixtures, are they now able, 15 years later to be able to identify those mixtures, which could lead to additional questions and additional suspects, which kind of puts the light bulb on too in certain aspects. So let's put it this way. Once again, Gisela, I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe that he put out a 440 motion knowing what the DNA and everything else that came out, if they have any other information that could have maybe been added to the, let's lack of a better adjective, mix.
Right. Ooh, that's a scary thought as well. All roads might eventually really lead to Rex. Rex Heuermann. So if anyone is only joining now, because there are some new people here, there's more and more people joining as the day goes on here. Rex Heuermann is, sources say, he's going to be indicted on a 5th murder charge on Thursday. He was meant to be in court on June 18th next, but now he's already going to be on June 6th. They'll be back in court. So hopefully we'll have a press conference. Hopefully we'll hear from District Attorney Ray Tierney and Michael Brown as well, the defense attorney. That's always like quite tense, right? That energy. But this could mean that Rex Heuermann might be charged with the murder of either Jessica Taylor or Valerie Mack, because they were recently searching that Manville area, or Peaches and or Baby Doe. So I wonder if you had to, like, who is the most likely for Rex to be connected to on Thursday? I know you said between these two, but if you had to guess.
I'm gonna go with Jessica Taylor. She was found in 2003.
Okay.
I would go with that one. And listen, I want to see all these cases solved.
Yes.
But and remember too what we talked about the New York Post just a little while ago too about Sandra Castillo maybe being added to this mix. So you're gonna have to update. You're gonna have to update your map and add. Yeah, it's with an O. She also has another name that she uses is Cutello, Cutello. But when you search for her, just type in LISK. And
yeah, I'll bring that up now. When I quickly show, if you guys want to read more about the victims that we're talking about today, we've done deep dives on this before, but gilgocase.com is where it's a great resource for timelines and just a refresher on the maps and all the victims and everything. So that's what I keep popping up here as well. When we mention, for example, Jessica Taylor, Valerie Mack could be as well. Then I quickly want to see on my map, isn't it? Here's a Costello. Not? Do I have a Costello on here?
Yeah, Wait. It's actually, it's spelled Castillo. I think it's Castillo is how you spell it.
Okay.
Sandra
Costello.
Ooh, and then type in Sandra Costello and type in North Sea, and it'll come up.
Okay. I mean, it could be this one, and let me quickly type it in, and then we bring it up. Okay, so Sandra Costello, North Sea. Sorry for hearing all my typing, you guys. People like, what? Sandra Costello. I don't find North Sea. Probably because I'm in Switzerland. Put that VPN on. So sometimes I don't find all the articles unless my VPN is on. So I'll check for it. But it says suspected Gilgo Beach murderer Rex Heuermann facing new charges for additional murders. And so let's see. It says suspected Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann will be slapped this week. Don't you just love the media language?
Well, New York Post.
He will be
famous.
Slapped this week with murder charges related to additional victims. Sources told the Post on Monday. Heuermann, 60, will be arraigned on a new indictment Thursday before the state Supreme Court Justice Timothy Mazzei in Riverhead. The indictment is related to additional victims, including one found in North Sea, a community in Southampton, which was searched by investigators a few weeks ago. So that's true. I haven't actually mentioned that. They went to the Manville area, then they moved from there to the North Sea area. So that is interesting. Mm-hmm. Wow, it really could be.
Yeah, so yes. Raul just sent me a text. The O and the A are switched, so it's Castillo, Costilla. And then when you do
let's
it, she
see.
comes up.
Let's see if Raul sent me one. Sis Raul, you can send me a DM on X if you want.
So
Okay, so Sandra, and how do you spell that? C-A?
Costilla. And she'll show up on the
Costilla.
top left in a Long Island Press article.
North Sea. Let's just quickly find it. News 12, Long Island Press, that one. What, this one? North Sea location.
Yeah, that's North Sea. That's probably when they did the searches out there and they mentioned her names in the searches.
Yes. North Sea. Okay, well, this could be, it could be either of the four we've already mentioned or Sandra Costello. Oh my word, Thursday is going to be very interesting either way, because they searched in that area as well after Manville, right? It was first the Manville area, then they went there.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, so they went from Manorville, Pine Barrens, North Sea, because North Sea is much further out. It would be the furthest one out on the north side of this. It's actually right. It's actually part of Southampton.
Okay. Wow. I will find that audio. Maybe you will find that audio. Are you having a show about this later or no?
Well, I mean, if they do attach, Sandra, of course, we're going to add her onto the list right now. Like I said, it's just interesting now that the Post is reporting that, so it's actually kind of interesting, and it's also kind of like this thing because she wasn't included, quote unquote, in the victims of the Long Island serial killer. She's been an outsider, so to speak, in regards to this.
Yes.
She was more seen as a Bitroff victim, and I think for years that case was never touched because they thought it was Bitroff, and they just said, all right, we didn't have it, let's move on.
That is so scary. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Raul. I need that. I really appreciate it. Let's see if it can open here.
It's like having your own little research team.
Yes,
Raul's great.
We love that. We love that. You see, when I go here, it's not opening for me. Let me just see if my VPN is on. It is in fact on. So I don't know. This is what it does for me. You see now. There you go. Manville man arrested. Okay, wait, let's see this one.
Yeah,
this
so
was from 2014.
Yeah, the victim on top was Rita Tangridi, and the bottom one is Colleen McNamee.
Yes. So this is John Bitrolf, who we've been talking about throughout this show, you guys. The other guy that seemed to have operated in a similar area. And
Carpenter
Rex Heuermann,
from Manorville.
Yeah, Rex Heuermann Googled this guy.
Yep.
That's what makes that interesting too. Okay, and they could not connect John Bitrolf to this third victim, Costilla, like Miss Costilla. Okay, let's see.
There she is.
Maybe let's move us out the way. There we go. Sandra Costilla was found murdered at the Fish Cove camp at 50 Fish Cove Road in North Sea on November 20th of 93. Ooh, if so, imagine if they connect Rex Heuermann to this. That means he's been busy for a very long time.
Well, here's the thing with that, right? So that would make her the earliest victim out of this whole thing. But also remember, Karen Vigato, I believe, was 1993 also. So it would just open this case wide open to so many different things and so many additional victims. When I had Raul on my show and I had asked him, I put him on the spot. I said, how many victims do you think they could be? And he said, could be upwards of 100. So,
yes, someone was guessing as well earlier, maybe 91 or could be upwards of 100.
So we will find out sooner or later. Thursday, I think, is going to be a huge day.
Ooh, that's going to be a big day. We'll all be on high alert.
Yeah, high alert, and like I said, and you kind of have to feel hopefully some relief for the victims' families.
Yes, definitely. Let me show everyone. This is Raul's page. Thank you for sending me that. Catch LISK. You can find him on X, formerly Twitter. And here, look at the example of the map that he's got going on. It's pinned here for you too. We do love pinned maps. And also Joe Jacalone's channel. Make sure you are subscribed over there. You've got 11.2K already. Congrats. Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? We started in August.
More. Yeah, let's get some more over there. Grizzlies, go over there. And you can have all the bear emojis in your chat. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's great. I love it.
All right. So I just want to see if I missed any other questions. Let's just see. We've got that one. Copper Horse said, Kathleen Harris, question, do you think the lockbox they found is a kill kit? Oh my goodness.
I don't know about a kill kit. Maybe hopefully that there was some items in there that you maybe, well, let's just, for lack of a better adjective, call them keepsakes.
Yeah.
Maybe some things like that. Because we've seen other serial killers do stuff like that, right? Keep something from the
Mm-hmm.
victim. I've seen it in, people who commit sexual assaults too. Take a driver's license or something else as a memento. So it's not unusual to see that. And remember, we're still waiting on all these search warrants, the search warrant returns.
Yes. Oh my word. Do you think we'll be able to see that? The public, like the
Oh,
documents?
well, once the trial comes, yeah, they'll make that public. But
Don't say
they already
that.
have it. See, in New York State, when you execute a search warrant, you have 10 days to get the search warrant return, it's called, back. And that search warrant return lists everything that you've taken out of a specific area that you searched. So the courts have kept this under wraps, and rightly so, because there's so many different moving parts on this. But you know what? 5 days of searching and all the stuff they took out of there, boy, is going to add a lot more time to this. So the question comes down to is, do they move forward with the Gilgo Four and start that case and see what happens if they add cases this week? If not, I mean, we're looking at 2026 sometime at this rate, at the way things are going.
Probably yes, unless he pleads guilty, which those types usually don't, right?
Yeah, I doubt that's going to happen.
Even though Keith Jesperson, the happy face killer, is telling him to just own it. I don't think that Rex Heuermann will.
Well, if you think about it in respect of, when he was arrested, just handing over the house, handing over certain things, whatever, kind of like intimated that he was finished. He wasn't coming back home. Maybe you can look at it
Yes.
that way.
I'm actually surprised that Attorney John Ray hasn't said more, especially with that second search at the house, because one would think he would be saying, "You see," like with
Well,
Asa Ellerup and the Peacock deal, her not being there, and like I don't know, that whole conversation started up again, I think.
well, listen, I have a lot of respect for John Ray, but I think that the district attorney was, I think a little taken back with the whole John Ray symposium bit where he had an affidavit that said, Rex was with James Burke, who was the police chief at the time, and that kind of turned this whole thing inside out. So maybe, at the request of maybe the district attorney, he asked them to, I don't know. I haven't spoken to John in quite a while now, and I'm not going to speak for him, but you never want to be the fly in the ointment when you have something big going on. Let's put it that way.
True. Maybe he's watching. If he wants to talk, come talk.
I love John. He's John's been nothing but nice, and he's always given up his time to talk about these things. Like I said, people, there's people that don't like him, but you know what? He's risked everything for all cost to his not only reputation but his own pocketbook. So I mean, you can't take that away from him.
Yes. My goodness, I see we've been over an hour now. It's been great fun to have you here again and discuss this case. I mean, you're always welcome back. One day we'll have to have Michael and Raul and everyone here with us too. One step of anxiety at a time, guys. Just take it easy on me. But thank you so much for being here. I hope that everyone goes over there. Joseph Jackalone, that's his channel. And I do say, just for those that I don't say your surname correctly. Am I saying it correctly? Joe Jackalone.
Yeah, you are. Yep.
Okay, cool. And you say my name correctly too. Very nice.
It took me practice, though.
Okay.
it took me practice.
I think it always does take practice, especially for New York. Yeah.
Yes.
So go and subscribe over there. There's lots of live streams, there's videos, there's shorts as well. There's quizzes on the community tab. And then if you want to get Joe's books, as I say, they're all on, I mean, I'm sure they're everywhere, but on Amazon is the easiest place to find them. You just type in his name, he's right there. And if you want to know more about Joe, I've linked his website, josephjackalone.com, in the description box. So you can go and learn more over there as well. And as I say, we could sit here all day and talk about every single potential victim that could be linked to Rex Heuermann. I just saw a video from, I think the guy's name is Nathan Adams something. I don't know if you've seen those videos. Oh my word. He was rattling off about 30 other potential victims. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So this case
Raul's
is
your
huge.
guy. Raul's your guy.
Yeah.
If you want to know about victims and potential victims, you don't have to look any further than that.
Oh, that map, Raul. That map is amazing. The ones I couldn't figure out how to get out of that map. It's just map all these. Wow, the work he's done. It is incredible. So again, guys, go check out Catch LISK on X. I'm sure you're on Reddit as well, Raul, right? Reddit, maybe on YouTube too, quite a bit. So go check him out as well.
Justice, yeah.
Oh yes, Catch Justice. So go check that out as well. So Melissa Loves True Crime says, always a pleasure watching you two together. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. Also, like and share so that others find this, because it's great information as well. And let's see what happens on Thursday. Maybe we'll meet again, or maybe I'll be here, you'll be on your channel, or we'll just be buzzing, talking about what happened. All right. So thank you so much. I wish you a wonderful day ahead too, and everyone have a great day too. Bye, everyone.